Hey Elle, I am so excited.
Me too.
And why are we excited, Elle?
Oh, because today we have really started putting everything together, finalizing some details for our very own Brave, Strong, and Fulfilled membership.
It is so exciting. And over the next few weeks, we will be sharing with
Hmm.
our listeners more about this membership and how you can join us in this fabulous
Yeah.
journey in life to live and be encouraged to live brave, strong, and fulfilled. And yeah, so we have been putting our heads together, and it's been really, we started this conversation a couple of
Oh,
weeks ago. Hey, Elle?
longer.
Okay,
We started this conversation before I came to visit you
in
when I
Adelaide.
came down. Yeah, we'd
Yeah, yeah,
started that.
which was
Mm,
a couple of months ago now, actually.
mm,
And so we've been wondering, what can we do to provide a space for our listeners,
mm.
which is kind of like we sort of likened it to, to going to the gym. So when you go to the
Yeah,
gym, you can do, there's a couple of options. Hey, Al.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
right. Well, you pay a membership, your basic membership, and you get to go use the gym, use all of the equipment
yeah, as you
when
want.
you want to.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah.
And then if you want to do a bit more than just have access to the gym,
Mm.
you can pay for a couple of classes and join
Hmm.
a couple of classes,
Hmm.
group classes, or
Yeah.
classes that sort of target specific areas that you
Mm.
want to work on. And
Mm.
um, and yes, and what are the other options, Al?
And so I think at the heart of it is this desire to have community.
Mm,
So you and I are blessed. We get to see each other on our screen as we record our podcasts each week, right?
mm,
And we've got amazing listeners who tune in faithfully each week. And I feel like we would love to open the community up so we can have more interaction with our people. And so part of the membership will be free group coaching so that we can all be together on the screen on a Zoom conversation and all be there and learn and share and grow together because we really are better together, as cliche as that sounds.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. And how much fun will it be for all of us to have the opportunity? So once a month, we're going to open our
mm,
Zoom chat to everybody that
yeah,
wants to be there and is part of
yeah,
our membership, where we all can just hang out together
yeah.
and get to know each other and then actually have some group coaching, which is really exciting. So can't wait.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then there's also going to be lots of different freebies inside the group to do with podcast resources. So
Yes.
things that we
Okay.
create, things that we've learned, different tips and strategies that we use with our coaching clients. We want to be able to share with our members. So there's lots to be part of, lots to learn from, because I think we really not only do we want to create a community, we want to equip people.
Yeah.
We've equipped each other. We've been on this coaching journey for quite some time. We love being in the space with our clients, and I feel like it's a perfect opportunity to grow and equip our listeners all together. Hmm.
Yeah, and the fun about that for me is, in creating this, it's been a fun journey to start putting this
Oh,
all together.
hasn't it?
But even for myself, having one place to go to find the resources that you and I have been
Mhm.
sharing on the podcast, because if anybody's like me, I've got these little piles all over the show. And these piles can get a bit confusing, and then I can't
Yeah,
remember what pile I've put what in. So
yeah,
if all these resources that we've shared and spoken about on the podcast are, in one place,
yeah.
where I can easily go in and find them there, and I know
Hmm.
that's where they are. Yeah, that's a great help for me. So I figured it might be a help for somebody else.
Absolutely. I'm organized chaos. I think we all know that by now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, one place is fabulous. So I guess over the next few weeks, we're going to talk a bit more about this space. We're going to launch it when, Kath? What's our plan?
Yeah, so doors open in October. So we will be sharing more. But if you
Mm.
are, feel like you'd love to partner with us
Yeah.
in space, then yeah, we'll share more over the next few weeks. But October, our doors are opening, and we'd love for you to be
Yeah, we would.
one of our founding members.
Yeah.
Um, wouldn't that be great, you know? So in a year from October, you can celebrate a whole year as a founding member
Yeah,
with us in the
that's right. And
yeah.
then, as we learn and grow together, there'll be events and different things that take place over the course of our journey. And we would love to be able to invite our members to join us in and through all of these things. So
Yeah.
I think this is the beginning of something new. I feel it deep in my spirit that this is a great and exciting journey, and can't wait for it to all begin in October, and for you all to join us
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, we were just having this conversation that we thought really great to bring to our podcast.
today.
And
Yeah.
this, starting something new.
Mm.
How many times, Elle, have we started something new?
Can you see, if you're listening in the car to our podcast, can you see my eyes rolling? How many times have we started something new?
Life, today, I think in the year 2024, for everybody,
Yes.
you listening, how often have you needed and thought about starting something new?
Mm.
And we've recognized over the years, Al, you and I in the coaching space, that there are two key ingredients
Yeah.
for starting
Yeah.
something new. And we've been reminded about these in
Absolutely.
this journey. And we want to share
Yeah.
them with you today because they are such, useful ingredients for
Mm.
all different scenarios in life, aren't
That's
they?
right. And what's beautiful is that it's two ingredients. Like, that's not overwhelming,
Yeah.
but they're not always easy to implement, which is why we want to unpack them a little bit today. So
Yeah.
it's simple, two things, we can all do it, but we often find ourselves not quite doing it. So yes,
Yeah.
let's chat
So
about it.
what are these two things? And they are the two ingredients for change. And I think one thing you and I have learned about life and, living brave, strong, and fulfilled, we know that in life there is constant change. The only
Yeah,
thing that we can kind of,
guarantee on.
be
Yeah,
certain about is that
yeah,
there's going to be change. And our growth journey is about change, and our personal development journey is about change.
yeah,
So the two ingredients we need, whether we are just doing life really,
yeah.
or trying to, start something new, or wanting to grow and change and be uh, the best versions of ourselves,
Mm.
require these two ingredients. And
Mhm.
they are being, how
Yeah.
we are being,
Mm.
and then what we're doing.
Doing. Yeah.
So the being and the doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Sounds simple. How do we be? What do we do?
Yeah, yeah.
But
And I think my life, in my own life prior to coaching, I didn't understand the being part. I completely
100%.
overlooked, and I was just all about jumping into the
Jump
doing.
straight into doing. And I
Yeah.
think that's part of human nature. That's the habit that we do, right? Because if we can do something.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
how we
it feels good
be?
to do something, it
Yes.
makes you feel, but I think sometimes we can, so just as an example, we can be stressed and
Mm.
anxious. And
Mm.
then from that place of being
Do.
stressed and anxious, we do,
Mm.
or we can be more relaxed and more at peace. And then
Yeah.
from that place, we
Do.
do.
Mm.
So the being, and it took me a while to kind of get my head around, what what
Yeah.
it even is, the being part. And
Yeah.
so if you're listening and you're thinking, what are they talking about?
Mm-hmm.
You're not on your own. So, but just to keep this really, simple and straightforward, being has, it's exactly that. It's how are you being right now?
Mm.
And the best way to do that is to do a quick self check-in
Yeah.
and to ask yourself, and to not overcomplicate things, and just ask yourself, how am I being right now?
Mm.
How am I feeling right now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I like to liken it to like athletes, like we just saw the Olympic Games, right?
yeah,
All of those athletes had to be in a certain way before they did their training, before the lead up to the Olympics, all of those things. They had to be a certain way to be able to do
Do what?
their event.
Yeah.
And they had to have that demeanor. They had to have the thought process. They had to have the emotions that would help them to be successful in their event. And so for me, I like to liken it. That's how, in our everyday, how are we being?
Yeah.
How are we feeling? How are we showing up?
And then that changes for whatever it is we need to do. So
Mm,
how we being, like before we get ready to go to bed at night, looks very
yes.
different from how we're being before we know we're joining each other to record a podcast.
Exactly right. So if
Yeah.
we showed up in the morning, oh, here we go again. I've got to do another. I've got to talk to Cab. Don't bother really getting dressed because we know it's, on Spotify. No one's really watching. The energy level would not be as it needs to be
Yeah.
for our recording.
Yeah. So in coaching language, we kind of call this state management, like how we're being. It's what is my state? Am I stressed? Am I relaxed? Am I all chaotic and over the show? And if truth be told, right in the beginning, the early days, I really struggled with this. I really struggled, and quite often if I slowed down enough, that's the first thing. One needs to slow down,
Mm,
check in with yourself and ask, how am I being?
yeah.
Like quite often I was just like, I don't know how I'm being, you know? So I just loved, and also because, I'm visual, you're visual, Al, I love language. One of the things that has helped me is even just as a starting point is, okay, so am I being glass half empty right now?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I being glass half full?
Okay.
And just even that for me as a starting place was, and it was so interesting to kind of shocking almost, how many times I realized, I'm actually glass half empty. And I didn't even realize I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because life's too busy. Like we just keep doing.
yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
also we get used to, doing from a place of being so busy all the time. And,
Mm.
I know back in the day, people would say to me, so Kath, how are you doing? And my default answer was, oh, busy, 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 exhausted.
Yeah.
And one can actually, without realizing it even, sort of default to a way of being that we've learned in our coaching, perhaps doesn't give us access to our most resourceful self.
Absolutely. And if
Yeah,
we've got all that chaotic thoughts, it's very difficult to then, if we need to make decisions about life, if we need to start on a new path, a new journey, we can't really access the creativity that we need to, and
yeah,
just process what's really going on. So being is, yeah,
yeah.
fundamental.
A big one that has kept me sort of stuck before in the past also is, how am I being? This being full of self-doubt.
Okay.
How easy is it just to be filled with doubt and then to be doubtful.
Yeah,
And
of
then we
course.
in that space of doubtfulness, we just doubt that we have what it takes to do. And, quite often I don't know that I have what it takes to do, but I can shift, if there's anything I can shift, like who would I like to be if I
Mm.
wasn't going to be filled with
Yeah.
self-doubt? And before recording this, you shared a lovely story
Yeah.
about how sometimes we can, if we're not sure how we need to be in a moment,
Mm.
we can look to someone else. Do you want to share
Absolutely.
that story?
Yeah, I'd love to share the story. So a number of years ago, I was teaching year two, and I had this particularly challenging student. He was a very angry little person, and I was at a loss at how to be, what to do, how to help de-escalate the situation. But I had noticed there's this beautiful lady, she's a dear friend of mine, works in the library. She just had this demeanor, this peace, the right language. She just showed up in a manner that de-escalated the situation.
Yeah.
So I became very aware of that, realizing I was not wearing any of those things. And so every time it started to stir up while I was still learning, I would literally say to myself, how would Melissa be? What would Melissa do? Like, And I would have this visual image of my friend being herself in that space. And while I was learning, I kind of channeled her. And it's
Yeah.
not to say I wanted to be like my friend Melissa, although she's a fabulous person to want to be like. It was, I sort of borrowed her way of being
Yeah.
and clothed myself with that for a time until I learned how to be myself. That created this calm space for this little person to be able to. And it was, look, I didn't get it right every time. None of us got it right every time. It was a journey. But I certainly, and I even did the same, as we're sharing this, I even did this last night. I had to go to an event. I was out of my comfort zone. Didn't know I was going till kind of last minute, didn't know I needed to speak until the last minute. So I
Oh,
wasn't
wow.
very well prepared. But again, I did the same of, I've got a fabulous person in my mind who shows up, whether prepared or not, with a confidence.
Yeah.
And yeah, I sort of channeled that confidence. I had a visual because I could see my friend doing it. And then I knew I just needed to, how I needed to clothe myself, how to show up and be in that moment. And I think it's a very, very useful tool while we're learning how to be.
Yeah.
Because we've all got
Absolutely.
strengths and weaknesses.
I love that your language around that, what like stepping into someone else's way of being, clothing
Mm,
yourself into how they're being. And it's not so much about what they're doing, it's how
mm,
they're being that allows them to do so fabulously what
yeah,
need
what
to
it
do
is.
in that
Yeah,
moment. Yes.
yeah.
And so if you're listening, I hope this makes sense to you right now. But so the first question to ask yourself is, how am I being right now?
Yeah.
And the way I'm being right now, is that giving me access to
Mm,
whatever I need so that I can go and do more
mm,
resourcefully what I need to do. And
yeah.
if you're recognizing that how you're being right now is clouding, or keeping you stuck or getting in the way of you doing whatever it is you need to do. Like last night for you, I love that story. If you'd showed up all anxious and stressed, it would have been far harder to do
Yeah.
resourcefully what you needed to
To
do.
speak on the spur of a moment.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
right.
And so practicing stepping into a way of being
Mm,
that is resourceful and is life-giving and fills
mm,
you up and gives you access to what you need for the doing. That's the
yeah,
first ingredient. And so,
100%.
we bring it to you, and we're going to be bringing it to you in the membership as well, just as a
Yeah,
reminder, because gosh, it's been a fabulous reminder for us as
yeah,
well. How do we need to be you and I, Elle, when we show up for others in our world and
yeah.
what we would like that to look like. And life is a journey. And so, as you said, we don't get it right every time for sure.
Mm,
But with practice, it becomes
mm,
easier to
it
be
sure
who
does.
we need to be or who we want to be.
Mm,
And that's the choice, one of the choices we have, which
that's
is
right.
so empowering. And then, but at the same time, if we just practice being
And we
and
don't do anything.
don't take that next step, then that's only going to get us so
Mm,
far as well.
yeah,
So as well as the being, it does take, like you needed to
action.
get in your car and go and do and show up to be able to speak. And
Yeah.
you could have sat at home in your jammies and channeled your friend.
Well, I could have. And even like with our membership that we've been working hard on creating, we could show up together, me and you, and have these conversations. But until we actually took action and started to learn, okay, how do we build this platform out? What's it going to look like? And start taking the steps. We're not
Yeah,
going to building this podcast. We had a year and a half ago, had zero clue. So it was all about, and so for me, if we're in a state of being that's going to be conducive to the
yes,
doing becomes less overwhelming. So often we show up with all of these things that we have to do, and the list is long. So
yeah,
if we show up in a stressful state, to a long list of actions that need to be taken, it's going to be very, very difficult to even take one of them. But in the being, we can then see out. So for me, I'm a bit of a list person. So for doing. And so when I see what I need to, and you can just plot at it and do it a bit at a time. But if you're being in that calm space, each step is going to be that bit easier.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that you shared also that you're a list person, because the list gives you probably clarity.
Yeah.
When you have more clarity, you can be, more clear.
Because otherwise the thoughts are looping in my mind, right? And it's all this stuff, and then you write it down and you go, oh, hang on a second. It's not quite as bad as I thought.
Yeah, and this is also the other insight that the coaching space brought to me around the doing
Mm,
is grew up very much in the space of wanting to perform and wanting to please. And part of that was, you just tell me what to do and I'll go and do it well, you know?
okay.
And then when we first started in the coaching space and in our first early training, I still remember so clearly our coach trainer teaching us that no, it's for me to figure out what works for me, what I need to do.
Mm,
And I was like, oh, that's hard. I don't
yeah.
know how to start figuring out what I need to do. I want you to tell me what to do.
Yeah, just tell me. And how many times have you had a client say to you, can you just tell me what to do?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
numerous times. And because it's hard.
It is hard to figure out, but the
Mm,
beauty is the more we become aware around what it is that works for us. So, as an
mm,
example of that, whenever I need to do, or whenever I'm wanting to do the internal work around becoming, being a bit more self-reflective and growing an awareness of something,
mhm,
and figuring out, oh, why is it that I keep thinking this or doing that or whatever? So, any of that kind of work, it's often been suggested to me to journal, to keep a journal,
right.
right? So that would be a form of doing, journaling.
Hmm. Hmm.
I have tried. I've got so many little bits and pieces up, and
Same
and
as me.
pretty little
Hmm.
journals all over the show. But I start and I go, page one, page two, page three, or day one, two, three, and then it's just I just fall off the wagon. I do. And I've realized that, rather than judging myself for that and feeling really guilty and bad and telling myself, oh, I'm such a bad person, or I just, can't do
Mm,
this, and I'm
hmm.
useless. I just
Mm,
figured out that for me, what's way more effective is for me to go for walks out in nature. And then I
yeah.
have the phone with me, and then, I have conversations with God while I'm walking, and it's my space where my mind is clear and I become creative and ideas come to me. And
Mm,
so often, things that felt complicated and that confounded me, suddenly I have the answers for and clarity.
mm,
Then I've got my phone with my, and I know phones can be distractions, absolutely. But
yeah.
I pull that out and I go to notes and I just type in a few notes so that I remember. And then I go back later, and if I need to write something down, I can. And for me, that form of doing is effective. And so I
Mm,
think the key for anyone listening is, doing. What if we knew that the doing part, yes, sometimes it does help to have someone tell you what to do,
mm,
but it's to be less reliant on a prescription
yeah.
and ask yourself and check in with yourself, what works for me?
Mm,
What has worked in the past?
mm,
And let me do more of that.
yeah. And that takes a moment to sort of think back to times when something has worked. Because
Yeah.
sometimes we'll think, oh, nothing works. I don't
Yeah.
know, nothing worked. Like I've had that conversation with people, oh.
Yeah.
But if we think specific moments, um, there's clues. There's clues in our past. But also, I would say looking forward is try some different things of
Yeah.
different actions
Yeah.
that will help. And then, like you did, you've tried journaling, doesn't work. Don't beat yourself up. And so, for lots of us, some people will think walking's not for them. I would hedge to guess walking is helpful to all of us. However, it's not the answer for everybody, and that's not what people want to do either. So,
Well, I mean, I've heard
different for
people say
different
that
people.
swimming, they'll go
Yeah.
swimming and swim lengths in the pool. And I mean, I can't think of, I mean, I'm just a non-swimmer. So for me, that definitely
Well,
wouldn't
see,
work.
I tried that. I was doing it. I had an injury, so I was swimming, and I thought, this is great. Each lap, I'm going to concentrate and think about different things. Well, it would start off, but by halfway, I'm out of path. I'm like, where's the next breath? Where's the end of the wall? And then I'd forget what I was focusing on. So,
Yeah.
yeah, swimming didn't work for me either.
So there we have it, the two
Yeah,
ingredients of
yeah,
progress, of change, of, development. It's the being
and the
and the
doing.
doing. Yeah. And,
Mm,
one without the other, we've just realized it's, not going to get us very far. So we
Not going to
actually
get
want
us where
to,
we want to go, hands down. Mm.
yeah.
Yes, fabulous. I love that we got to talk about this today, that we are in this space of being and doing for our membership and on our podcast, and just encourage our listeners to keep tuning in to find out more about our membership, our upcoming membership. And it's all part of being and doing and equipping each other to be and do.
Yep. Yeah. Can't wait to continue this journey and to have our listeners joining us inside the membership and to
Yeah,
just get to know you better
yeah,
and yeah, to invite you and have you with us on this journey.
yeah. Be part of our community. Love it. Well, thanks
Well,
for the chat today. Thanks for tuning in. We hope that's been helpful to you today, and we'll chat again soon.
see you next time. Cheers.